Hey guys, welcome back to Slurve. I'm Steve and I will try and lead you through a few of today's cash game cornerstones. It's a bit of an interesting slate. I feel like I say that every day, but every day is kind of interesting in its own way. Today we've got a game in Coors, but it's a little odd because Max Scherzer is pitching there. So that kind of mixes up some of the plays we might normally make. Anyway, let's start out and take a look at some of my favorite guys from today. And starting right there at catcher, the premier guy tonight, Wilson Ramos against Jorge De La Rosa. Ramos has had LASIK surgery over the off season and has just been a different player ever since then. And 5.2 on DK, reflects the kind of player that he's been lately. 4.0 on FanDuel, still extremely expensive for a catcher there. So, I love Ramos in this spot tonight. And with the way that pitching is, there's plenty of options to get you cheap pitching that I think you can afford to fit him in your cash games. If you can't, though, and you want to go the traditional cheap route, I'm also a big fan of Mike Zunino against Ricky Nolasco tonight. Nolasco gives up 37% hard contact to right-handed batters, and Zunino is a guy who hits the ball hard a lot. And he's only 2.9 on DK and 2.7 on FanDuel, so I think he's also a very attractive catcher option if you're not going the Coors route with Wilson Ramos. At first base, I'm sticking with the trend of it's okay to pay up today. There is so much value available in pitching. Normally, I'm looking for more value in the bats here because you do want strong pitching in your cash game lineups. But we can get that without spending too much today, which is unusual. So I really like Miggy Cabrera against Ian Kennedy. It's just not the greatest of matchups, but it's not the worst either. He's a great hitter, one of the best in the game, and he's had great success against Kennedy in the past. If you don't like any BVP stuff, just forget I said that last sentence. He's 4.7 on DK, 3.9 on FanDuel. And then also kind of on the cheaper side, I really like Justin Smoak today against Chad Green, who has continued to, well, not continued, he's really started to struggle after kind of a really strong start there. But yeah, definitely against left-handed batters he's struggled, and that's the side of the plate that Smoak would be hitting from. 3.7 on DK, 3.1 on FanDuel. So, a nice discount there on both sites for him. And, he's projected at the moment to be batting 6th, which would be fine. If he's batting a whole lot lower than that, even 7th, 8th, I'm a little less excited for cash purposes. But it's not the worst play either if you need to save money there. He's still a first baseman who can get you, 2 home runs potentially. And actually, I think the lefty friendliness of Yankee Stadium makes that all the more likely. Well, here's a familiar name if you've either watched these videos or played DFS at all in the last couple weeks. Devin Travis, or have just been deep into baseball. Once again against Chad Green here. Travis is very expensive on DK, 4.7, but like I said, I don't think it's too much of a problem. He's a little bit cheaper, definitely too cheap on FanDuel, 3.4. He's just been on fire, especially against right-handed pitchers. He's a bit of a reverse splits guy. So I love him in this spot if you can fit him on DK or just on FanDuel because he's cheap. I also really like Robinson Cano against Ricky Nolasco. Nolasco has been kind of even worse since moving teams, and this is just a cupcake matchup for a guy like Cano who has been absolutely raking lately. Cano is expensive, 4.9 on DK, 3.8 on FanDuel, but you can probably fit him in today with the other bargain options. Over at third base, Adrian Beltre has a really nice home matchup with Ross Detweiler, who just does not get a lot of soft contact out of right-handed batters, only about 10%, which is very, very low. I think the lowest on the slate. And that's good for Adrian, who tends to hit the ball very hard and has been on kind of a heater lately. He's expensive on DK, 5.0, but he's pretty cheap on FanDuel at 3.4. I like him on both sides. I also really like Danny Valencia against Martin Perez today. 4.3 on DK and 3.0 on FanDuel, so definitely a big discount, especially on DK over Beltre. And Perez concerns me a little bit because his swinging strike rate is up like 50% in the last 30 days. Now, I'm not sure if that is just random statistical noise or if he's made some significant changes to what he's doing and is thus getting more swinging strikes. It's a bit of a concern for sure. But Valencia has always fared well against Perez in the past. It's a pretty good price for him there. And, it still adds up to a nice matchup regardless. Then on the real bargain side of things, we got Jose Reyes, who's back with the Mets. He's been leading off, and he gets Robbie Ray today, who, while he's been very, very good, really struggles with right-handed batters still. Gives up a whole lot more hard contact to them than he does to left-handed batters. Pretty nice number. He's only 3.5 on DK and 2.5 on FanDuel, so definitely the bargain option there. Shortstop is unusually packed with options tonight. It's quite rare to see this many that I have interest in. But Marcus Semien definitely stands out, especially if he's batting leadoff, as he often is against left-handed pitching. He is 4.5 on DK and 3.3 on FanDuel, so really nice bargain there on FanDuel. Still a fair price on DK for him. The same concerns that I mentioned about Valencia before also apply to to Semien now. Espinosa is the guy that I want to talk about next, who is probably my guy for the night. It's a little bit more of a high-risk, high-reward kind of thing. He's obviously in Coors, which is a nice bonus. He gets Jorge De La Rosa, left-handed pitcher, and he's been just doing silly things to left-handed pitching. He's only been getting 9% soft hits against left-handed pitchers, which is just ridiculous, and 40% hard. So a lot, 50% medium, 40% hard, and 9% soft. I mean, that's just insane numbers. He's 4.6 on DK, so he is expensive. 3.5 on FanDuel, kind of pricey there too, more than Semien anyway. But he strikes out a lot, even against lefties. Actually, a little more against lefties. I don't want to say it's like a 25% of the time against lefties. So there's definitely some risk there. But I think in the thin air of Coors, his ability to get hard hits off of lefties will cause the ball to carry, hopefully out of the park, but at least, to the corner in the wall or something. So there's that option. On FanDuel, we also have the option of Trey Turner against De La Rosa here. On DK's second base or outfield, he's very, very expensive on DK. Just for reference, he's 5.5 there. He's 4.2 on FanDuel, which is a healthy discount, even though it's still very expensive there. That I love him as a play there. I mean, I love him in general. However, Jorge and Nick Hundley are fairly good at holding and throwing out runners. So there is that to consider, because Trey has been stealing a lot of bases lately. And I didn't even mean to really bring this guy up, but just hard to ignore on FanDuel. Brad Miller has been doing insane things. He gets Perdomo today, so a righty who gives up a lot, nearly 40% hard contact to lefties. This is really a FanDuel only play, at least in terms of cash. He's 5.3 on DK, but he's only 3.8 on FanDuel. It's a hell of a discount to take advantage of there. And this is probably more words than I've ever said about shortstops on a single slate. So I'm going to end it there and move on to the outfield. I love the price on Marcell Ozuna in this matchup with Finnegan in the old Great American Home Run Park. Giancarlo Stanton done for the season. Very unfortunate, both for him and my season-long fantasy team. More for him, though, if we're being honest. But it's close. But Ozuna is now batting fourth in that lineup, and he gets a lefty who's not particularly good. 3.9 on DK, 3.4 on FanDuel. Ozuna has been one of the best players in the league against lefties this season, and I think he's an extremely strong cash play at these prices. Another guy whose price just seems really depressed to me is Lorenzo Cain against, not Bud Norris, Daniel Norris. I was thinking Bud for a second there. Cain is 3.8 on DK, 3.2 on FanDuel. He was on the DL for quite a while there, and his price sort of fell down unnaturally, in my opinion. And I think that's just too low for him in what is a pretty nice matchup. I kind of hate to say it, but I feel obliged to mention Jason Worth and the silly things that he's been doing to left-handed pitching this season. About on the same kind of par as Danny Espinosa in terms of silly lefty crushing numbers. And he gets this, the same matchup, the same course. He's 5.4 on DK. The words practically choke in my mouth saying it. 4.0 on FanDuel is more reasonable. I have yet to decide what I'm going to do with him. I need to look at his numbers a little bit deeper because I'm not the biggest fan of playing him, and that price is just so steep. But PvP-wise, he has done very well against De La Rosa in the past. That stood out to me, too, while I was scrolling over the BBP for the day. But it's Jason Worth. I don't know. I think that's probably my bias, though. It probably means he's like the best play ever. And then Kevin Kiermaier, especially on FanDuel, is just mad underpriced at 2.8. Again, against Perdomo here, gives up a lot of hard contact to lefties. He should be batting near the top of the order. It's only 3.8 on DK, so not too bad there either, but, kind of right there with Ozuna and Kane, and I definitely look there first. And last but not least, kind of your punt cheap outfield play, still Tyler Collins against Ian Kennedy. 2.5 on DK and 2.4 on FanDuel. Just, if you still need some cheaper players, get on them there. Make sure you come on back by later. We're having the expert chat. You get to hear more about these plays and some other plays. And also the written rundown, which will be out and have some more details on these guys that I just talked about. And perhaps some other stuff as lineups come out. But make sure you come back for that expert chat, 5 p.m., slurv.com, to get all signed up. And, good luck tonight, guys.